you ever noticed how shop-bought t-shirts, much like this one, are often a little bit underwhelming? They don't fit right, they stretch out of shape over time, and they have pretty poor finishes. So in today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 3 tips and tricks to sew elevated basic t-shirts to a luxury standard so that you can start adding basic pieces to your wardrobe that are better quality than anything you will find in your local shops. Spoiler alert, it's my partner's birthday on Monday, and what I am going to do is sew him up 2 t-shirts. If there is anything you need to know about my boyfriend, it's that he doesn't own many clothes. He's also a farmer, so by the time he needs new clothes, they all have holes in from the barbed wire fences, but he's also very particular. He doesn't like anything branded. He doesn't like anything uncomfortable. And as a bloke with a very broad back, living that farmer life, the fit he finds is often frustrating. So it rides up on his back. So what I've done to get to this stage is taken down one of his favorite t-shirts and I've copied the pattern. I've then made some minor fitting amendments, such as adding length in the back to accommodate for his broad back, which just tends to rise up as he wears t-shirts. So I've just added length in the back. But the first step to selecting and sewing a luxury standard t-shirt is your fabric selection. Now, one of the easiest and quickest routes to luxury is the weight of your fabric selection. Whilst a lightweight fabric like this fine knit jersey here can have really beautiful drape properties, in any high street kind of clothing, you might find that it actually leads to a level of translucency, and you don't really want that see-through element in your design. Plus, over time, this will wear thin. However, if you choose something that is a little thicker, then this weight of the fabric is generally going to feel more expensive. It's going to sit better on the body, and it's less likely to cling or stretch out. So we don't want that kind of warping out of shape. I'd have a look at going for a mid to heavyweight jersey, around 180 to 220 grams per square meter, or GSM, for a tee that holds its shape and doesn't feel paper thin. So this is what I'm selecting for my partner. Obviously, if you're making a t-shirt, my partner is out in all weathers. If you're making a t-shirt that is more suited for winter, then I would go up in that weight of fabric. So stretch recovery is all about how the fabric can return to its original shape after being stretched. This is all to do with the fiber content and the knit construction. Fabrics with poor recovery, such as this cheap t-shirt here, cheap cotton jerseys, sag at the elbows, the necklines, as we can see here, the hemlines after a few wears. More luxurious fabrics tend to retain their shape, so cotton elastane, bamboo blends, and they bounce back beautifully. So making sure that your textile of choice has that stretch recovery can really make or break a basic in your wardrobe. So look for jerseys with a 3 to 6% elastane that gives you stretch and memory so that your tee won't warp after a couple of wears. And then finally, consider the drape of your textile. Now again, I alluded to this in terms of the weight. A lighter weight jersey might drape nicer, but for a luxury t-shirt, you want it to have a nice organic flow without clinging too much to the body. This is going to be very, very design dependent. And so for my partner's t-shirts, the white one is actually going to be a little bit more structured. This is kind of how it drapes and hangs, whereas the darker gray is going to have a little bit more of a fluid drape. So even the fussiest wearer can pick between the two. So my second tip for a luxury standard t-shirt is upgrading the finish to the neckline. Now, with ready-to-wear brands, many t-shirts are often skimped here with overstretched ribbing. This is what creates the unsightly warping around the neckline, especially if you are stretching it over your head, as we tend to do, depending on the neckline shape. If you are hanging your t-shirts up and shoving a coat hanger in from the top, number one, please stop doing that. We can't be friends. Put a hanger in if you have to hang your t-shirts from the bottom always. But ultimately, I do try to store all knitwear folded to avoid any warping and help with the longevity of my garment. But for Ben's t-shirt here, He's a plain kind of guy. He isn't one who likes any bells and whistles. I love him for it. This is going to be a nice timeless design. I'm actually going to give him a really clean finish with a self fabric neckband. Now, the shape of the neckline was actually one of the fitting amendments I made to his original t-shirt pattern that I copied. We've actually dropped the front neckline a bit here. And so to create a self fabric neckband, I've actually cut this, and this will depend on the stretch percentage of your fabric, but I've cut this strip here and sewn it together down the short edge to be 80% of this measurement here, taking your seam allowance into consideration. So I've measured the neckline with my amendments. I've tallied that. I've times it by 0.8 to create 80% of the length, and I have cut a neckband strip to size. I'm then going to fold this over just to give a nice folded edge, and then I'm going to quarter mark this before sewing it into my neckline. And so now that I have sewn my self fabric clean finish neckband in, I've given that a good press at the iron. The reason we're cutting this to be a shorter length than the neckline itself is because we are utilizing the stretch to help this lie flat on the body. If you just cut that to the same length as the neckline, what would happen is this would actually turn into a little bit of a stand-up collar. And so utilizing the stretch of your fabric, the properties of your fabric, cutting it to 80% of your neckline length is going to actually really help this lie flat. Other things to help finish the neckband that I'm going to be implementing now are using Maraflex thread. Now this is from Gutermann, and this is a elastic stretch thread. This is going to allow me to sew a straight stitch on my t-shirt without it snapping. Now, usually if you did a standard cotton thread or something like that, and you put this on over your head and it's stretched like so, then what you will find is you will have snapped stitches. So I'm going to be using a specific thread, Maraflex thread, so that I can not only secure down my seam allowance here, my overlocked edges, but I'm also going to be finishing this. I open this up. I'm going to finish the internal edge of my neckband with a bias finish. Now, not only does this give a really nice, neat interior, you can see it on high street t-shirts. It's not that they don't implement this at all, but it's not seen on all of them. And so what can happen in a low quality, low standard constructed t-shirt is you actually have this overlocked edge exposed. What we are going to be doing for Ben's t-shirt here is actually, and the width of your bias tape can differ, that is up to you, designer discretion. So I'm actually going to be running it all the way along the shoulder seam. You may only want to do it on the neckband. Again, this is completely each their own. You are the designer of your own wardrobe, or of your boyfriend's wardrobe in this instance. What I'm going to be doing is running this all along the seams here, and I will be enclosing that seam and just having a really nice, neat finish on the interior of the garment. This is also going to make it much more comfortable for Ben to wear because he won't have the kind of scratchy edges of these overlocked stitches against his skin. Now, as with every sewing project, you need to get into the habit of pressing your seams after every stitch line. It's just a really strong routine to get into to make sure that every pressed seam has a neat and professional finish. I like to press from the inside first before flipping my work right side out and pressing it again, just so that I can have as crisp a finish as possible with domestic tools. Speaking of tools, you'll obviously have seen that I've constructed part of this with a lock stitch machine. That is my industrial machine, but you can absolutely achieve professional finishes with a standard domestic, whether you want to do that with a zigzag stitch, whether you do that with Maraflex thread that allows that stretch, or whether you do it with twin needle finishes. Now, we're actually about to start a t-shirt framework cycle inside the DPL Atelier, where over the course of 4 months, my premium members and I are going to be following my signature Create, Cut, Contour, Construct framework cycle, where we'll be designing, drafting to our measurements, fitting and constructing professional sewing techniques so that we can add these wardrobe staples and basics to our closets. So I'll be deep diving into more finishing details over in the atelier. And of course, my final tip is fit. Now, for Ben, this was actually quite fun because after I finished filming making this one, this only took me an hour to sew up with everything cut out and ready. So another thing I love about t-shirts and basics is that they really are quick win projects. But I have altered this pattern to fit Ben like a glove. So it really accommodates his broader back. I've added an extra centimetre in width to the back pattern piece. I've also added length to the bottom to avoid that annoying rising up whenever he is moving around. We've lowered the neckline so that it is more comfortable for him. And I've widened the sleeve because even though I love a muscle fit on my boyfriend, he doesn't like anything that is too tight fitting. So I really have created a customized, luxurious garment for him, which I cannot wait to give him. So maybe I will, if he allows it, take a photo of him wearing his new t-shirts on his birthday, which is Monday. So why not come and follow me over at Digital Pattern Library over on Instagram, and I'll be sure to upload that in my stories. Now, of course, there are other elements you can introduce to your basic garments to elevate them to that high-end standard, such as a contrast color on that neck tape finish, or something like a split hem, or even a customized embroidery detail. And these are all things that we are going to be deep diving into inside the DPL Atelier. Now, as I say, these are really nice, basic, quick win sewing projects. So if you find yourself in a little bit of a lull, sewing up a basic is actually a really good place to start because every single wardrobe needs a basic. It really helps you piece together successful outfits, but it also helps get you over that hurdle and back at the sewing machine. And so if you're ready to sew your dream wardrobe, to design it, make it and wear it, then why not come and join us inside the DPL Atelier as we start to kick off our next framework cycle. For anybody who comes and joins, you will actually get free enrollment to May's 3-day design challenge, where we answer a creative brief, design a t-shirt, and I give away some prizes. So if turning that idea into reality sounds right up your street, then why not click the links down below and come and join us. So of course, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like it, why not drop a like, comment down below what it is that you would love to see or what it is that you are currently working on, and of course, subscribe to the channel. For now, all that's left to say is stay safe, keep creative, and I will catch you on the flip side.